And we're here with Kendal from Kendal's Bees. Hello.
Hello.
We had a great session last week on making lip balm with honey. So we came here to your beehive today in Los Altos, California, to actually take a look at where the origin of some of this honey came from.
Yeah, so these are my beehives. I've got 5 main hives that I keep, so all these colored ones in the back. These 2 were started just this year. This one's gotten huge. So I've taken probably between 5 and 7 gallons of honey out of this hive alone this year, which is quite nice. These hives are kind of my oldest hives. I've had them since my 2nd year, so I've had them since like 2012. New queens and stuff, but they've been around the whole time. And I have this little guy. He's a weird looking hive, but this is one that I actually take to like children's classrooms and things. These panels will actually come off and you can see into the beehive. Right now there's not a whole lot up there, but I can open this one up and we could see if we could see something neat. I'm just gonna grab some of my tools.
And yes, we're all suited up here.
Yes, everybody's all suited up.
So we're all suited up.
Just in case.
Yeah, we are in our space suits, ready to conquer Mars.
So usually, before I inspect them, I just give them a little puff of smoke in the entrance. And that's because bees communicate through smell. So that smell will cover up any pheromones that the guard bees produce if they think that I'm a predator. Most of the bees inside the hive will remain calm because they won't smell that alarm scent because the smoke is covering it up. And I use, this is called a hive tool. It's basically a little sharp crowbar, but I use that to pry apart the hive because bees will kind of glue everything together because they don't want air and stuff coming in. So everything is quite sticky. Here's the inside here. I'll just place this cover over here. I'll just give them a little puff over top, but they seem pretty calm right now, which is a good sign. I'll see if we can see anything cool. I'll also be checking to see that they have enough food to make it through the winter.
We have a question from P. If you do get stung by the bees, what's the best way to...
So the best way to handle that, since I've got a hive tool here that's kind of a sharp, scrapey surface, I will scrape the stinger off. You basically want to get the stinger out as quickly as possible. If you don't have a little crowbar, using your fingernails is totally fine. But you basically don't want to pinch it because that's pinching the venom sac that gets left behind and you're injecting more venom into your body. So you just want to remove that venom as quickly as possible, just with a quick scrape.
And how often do you check on the bees?
It varies by time of year. Okay, so this is some resources that they've got going on. Here they have a lot of, this is either nectar or honey, so you can see that kind of wet stuff inside. And they've also got some of this colored, powdery looking stuff. That's pollen. The pollen is the protein source of the bees. So they'll eat kind of a mixture of the nectar and the pollen together.
Wow.
Yeah. So these guys...
To be so close and not to be get stung.
Exactly.
It's quite a...
Yeah, they're usually really calm. These are Italian honeybees. They're bred to be really docile. Not a whole lot going on on this side.
Did you do a course to learn this, or how did you even get...
I actually, a friend of mine got me into this in college. His dad got bees and he needed a hand, and I came out, no suit, no nothing. And they were just super docile like this. I was so shocked. And so basically I wanted some farm animals, and this was the lowest key farm animal I could obtain.
How many in numbers do you think there are?
So in this little one, not too many. In a hive like this pink one over here,
yeah.
At the height of summer, that one might have about 60,000 bees in it.
Oh, wow.
So there's quite a lot of them. They're colony creatures.
Our audience is very excited here.
That's awesome. This one, oh, this bee has some pollen in her pollen baskets. A pollen basket is just a collection of hairs on the back leg. And they'll push all of the pollen back in there, and that's how they bring it back into the hive, and then they'll put it into the honeycomb.
Can you tell which is the queen bee here?
I can.
Oh, wow.
I don't see her at the moment. And usually she's hanging around some empty comb because she wants to lay eggs. So this is some old brood here.
Okay.
So these capped cells here. Oh, and there are even some uncapped ones. You can see these white things in these cells here.
Yes.
Those are larvae.
Yeah.
And they'll go into the pupa phase, so much like a butterfly. They'll get covered with wax here and hatch into full-size bees.
Everybody's asking, why are the bees not fluffy? Or the bees, like, I guess there's some...
They're not as, like, fuzzy.
Yeah. Like the ones in pictures.
Well, they do. There are, like, thousands and thousands of different types of bees. I think in the Bay Area alone, there's, like, at least 20 different types of native bee, bumblebees. So some of them are very fluffy. In general, bees are much fuzzier than wasps. So you can see kind of up here above their abdomen, I believe that's their thorax, is covered in fuzz.
Oh, wow.
Here. So they are a little furry, but they're not as furry as many bumblebees.
And then when do you get the honey?
I usually get the honey, so I just did my last harvest at the beginning of August.
Okay.
And that was my last harvest just because I want to leave them enough food to eat in the winter. In California, they don't need a ton, but they need something because I try not to feed them sugar water or anything else because they've done such hard work collecting everything. So let's see.
And like from a hive this big, how much honey do you harvest? Like,
so this
is it in liters or?
Ooh, there's the queen. I'll answer that in a second just because she's so cool. So this is her. You can tell. The front part of her body looks pretty much the same as all the other bees because all these bees are female. But the queen is the only one that lays eggs. So here she is, and she has a very long abdomen because she's got all those eggs in there. She doesn't seem too freaked out right now, but she's not laying eggs. She's just walking around. There are not very many empty cells here for her because all of these are filled up. So she's just walking around. But the queen bee will typically live like 3 to 5 years, and she'll stay in this hive. And these worker bees in the summer, they only live for about 6 weeks.
Oh, wow.
So, and in the winter, they'll live for a few months because they're not coming and going. They're all staying inside of the hive, eating the food that they've collected.
In winters?
Yeah, in the winter. But in the spring, the thing that ends their life so quickly is that they're out foraging for food. So they put a lot of wear and tear on their body, going back and forth.
Those in the audience, can you hear the buzz, all the buzzing sounds around?
Yeah, and it's a very calm buzz because bees, when they sting, they die. So that's typically not the first thing that they're going to try and do when they're alarmed. So right now, these bees are really calm. There's a very mellow buzz. If they start getting upset, some of the guard bees, so the ones in charge of protecting the hive, will start tapping me in the face. They can tell where my face is, again, from smell, because I'm breathing. So they'll start just running into me, not trying to sting me, but just trying to let me know that I'm in their space and I should probably leave. The next thing, if I don't leave, I continue doing what I'm doing, they'll come back and alert the rest of the hive, and you can actually hear the volume go up because everyone is on alert. So it'll be this nice calm buzz, and it'll go from like zzz to zzz. And I can actually also tell that maybe there's something wrong with the hive if I open the hive and I immediately get that sound. Because sometimes in the spring, older queens will be replaced. So if the hive is queenless, they're already a little bit agitated because they're in kind of a not as healthy as a state that they want to be in. So you can tell a lot just from listening to them and observing their behavior. So, but these bees are exactly how I want them to be.
That's good.
Nice.
How many times a year do you harvest?
I try to harvest as seldom as possible, just because it's a big, sticky, messy process. So I'll typically harvest 10 gallons at a time, and that'll happen maybe 3 times a year.
Okay.
Nice.
So, and again here, this is nectar, all nectar. So this is really good to see that they have a lot of food right now. They have a lot of pollen. They don't have very many places to lay eggs. Like here they could lay some eggs if they wanted to, but their population is probably going to stay pretty small, just because it's going into winter right now. When it gets to be spring, I'm going to have to put these guys into a hive like this one and give them a lot more space, because
bigger hive.
They're going to want to ramp up. The queen's going to be laying a lot more eggs. But right now, for some of these larger hives, I'm going to reduce them in size just so that they have less space to defend during the winter.
How do you control the...
Oh, these guys is, what kind of bees are these?
These are Italian honeybees. So that's a really common variety for beekeepers to have. There's also Russians and Carnioleans are the other 2 types of bees that you might get. But Italians, I think, are meant to be the most docile, which are my favorite to keep because, again, just look how cool they are. Yeah. That's awesome.
How do you control the population?
So I don't do too much to control the population. I just try to give them what they need. So in the springtime, I give them a lot more space so that the queen can lay more eggs.
Okay.
The bees actually will control how much the queen is laying. So in the winter, they'll actually feed her a little bit less so she lays fewer eggs.
Okay.
Because they don't need this enormous population because they're not bringing in a whole ton of nectar or pollen during the winter.
And what do you do with the honey? The $1,000,000 question.
What do I do with the honey? Well, right now I sell out usually just by word of mouth. I'm not in any farmers markets, but I go to specialty events. So if you're local around Los Altos or Palo Alto, this weekend there's the Farm to Table Food Festival over at the Jewish Community Center right at San Antonio and 101. And that's on Sunday. So I'll just be going there. I'll be doing another demonstration of how to make lip balm. And I sell honey at events like that. So typically, I sell all of my honey just as is for eating. I make creamed honey with it, which is the nice, smooth, creamy honey. And I also have a lot of friends who brew. So if I have a lot of excess honey, we'll brew it into beer or mead. So actually, Petaluma Hills Brewery up in the North Bay, up in Petaluma, I installed 2 beehives up there, and he brews big commercial batches. Using local honey that is right on top of his roof. So
yeah, if you're watching within the Bobsteak app, you can actually view some of the different things we can make with honey.
Yeah.
All the different. There's mead, there's lip balm, and there's the raw honey and the cream honey.
Exactly, because you also get a lot of all this beeswax is produced by the bees. So this honeycomb, they're making that stuff. So you can kind of see here. This one has more honeycomb. I'll bring that out. But when the honey is ripe, I didn't see much capped honey in here. They don't have a whole bunch of stores, but they'll fill these little holes with honey. And when it's the right water content, they'll cap it with a layer of wax. So to get the honey out, I have to scrape off the layer of wax. And I use that wax. You can use it for candles. You can use it for furniture polishes. I use it in lip balm, beauty products. You can use it in soaps. There's a ton of things you can do with beeswax. You can make lotions, as honey is a great moisturizer, and then beeswax usually retains a lot of moisture just because it's kind of a waterproofing agent if you have it in some lotions.
And your website is kendalbees.com?
It's kendalsbees.com, yeah.
Kendalsbees.com.
Yeah, Kendals bees.com.
Thanks so much for giving us the tour. Hopefully we'll learn more about some of the different products.
Yeah,
with honey and
exactly.
Yeah, so for those of us who are still in the broadcast, we will be doing more sessions with Kendal as we go forward. Be sure to check out the recording because this broadcast will be available for reruns. Thank you so much, Kendal, and we will see you next time.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.